Hey guys, it's Carrie and Zach here from the Coffee and KO's crew. And Zach, I got a question for you. You ever wake up on a Sunday morning and think, man, I'll cook the family some breakfast this morning?
Yeah, time or two.
Have you ever noticed how you throw the sausage links up on the griddle to one side, you throw the eggs up on the griddle to the other side? You never cook them touching.
No, you don't ever want them to touch. It's weird.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it got me to thinking, why do we do that with our underwear?
I have no idea. That's a really good question.
Yeah, I think it is too. But let me tell you, fellas, Sheath has solved that problem. They have come out with men's underwear with not one, but 2 pockets to keep your eggs and sausage separated.
Thank goodness. This has been a problem for way too long. I can't believe it took, I'm 26 years old, 26 years at least, to come up with something so intelligent. The material is great. Everything about Sheath underwear is amazing. And what's even better, we have a promo code. Promo code Coffee and KOs. If you use the promo code Coffee, the letter N, KOs, at checkout, you get 20% off your entire order. It's a hell of a deal. And let me tell you, the underwear are well worth it. So make sure you go to sheathunderwear.com. Promo code Coffee and KOs. Make sure you separate the sausage and the eggs. And make sure you sheath your dagger. Sheathunderwear.com. Coffee and KOs promo. 20% off. Go get yourself the most comfortable underwear in the world. And don't forget to sheath your dagger.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fight Bananas presents Coffee and KO's podcast. We're crazy about fights and jacked on caffeine.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coffee and KOs podcast. And fellas, do you hear that? It's crickets. That card was freaking terrible. Oh my goodness, that was so bad. Just a snoozer of a night. You know, there's always a couple of those a year on a UFC card, and you know, there's always at the end of the year when Steve and I, and if Aaron joins us when we do our end of the year support superlatives, this will be the card we go back to and say, definitely an underperforming card for sure.
Yep, that is kind of the story of the night for me. So you have what should have been a 13-fight card that gets trimmed down to 9 fights. We lost a lot of good fights that I think we wanted to see. The Menafield Knight fight was going to be awesome. I wanted to see Angela Hill, Ashley Yoder. That would have been a good fight. And then you go into 8 of 9 decisions throughout the whole night. It was just kind of not a lot of great memories to reflect on in this one. The main event was, you know, I like to see Ciryl Gane go in there and get an awesome win for him. So that was kind of the highlight for me. Obviously, Kevin Croom, our guy, didn't get to show out like the way that we wanted to. I know that we might have had a little bit of a bet, Zach. I don't know if we have to say something to the people out there, Fight Bananas.
I don't know exactly what word for word was, but Aaron,
we'll get it to you. You know, we'll figure it out. But Dave and Aaron take round 1 of the Fight Bananas. You know,
that's another thing we can do too is keep score of of those little fun bets that we do as a show. But yeah, overall was just a rough card. I mean, thank God for Munhoz Rivera. That was honestly the fight that stuck out the most, was definitely the most entertaining. I mean, the Bueno Silva fight was pretty good. De La Rosa, like, that wasn't awful. I thought that was a decent fight. So overall, though, yeah, the card wasn't great. Honestly, I'd want to start at the Munhoz Rivera card, because I thought that fight was really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think that certainly is fight of the night. And I think, before, rather than completely piling on here, it's like this just sometimes I think is what happens when you do have a lot of close matchups, skill wise, is that you're going to go to a lot of decisions. Both guys aren't going to be in exactly dangerous situations because they're similarly skilled and really good. So that's kind of just the other way of looking at a boring card, I guess, here. 8 of 9 fights went to a decision here, but yeah, Munhoz multiple times looked like he was getting ready to finish with those calf kicks. I just had to mute the commentary after a while because honestly, I thought Bisping was at his all-time worst tonight. I just couldn't really listen to him much when he started trying to justify a lot of different weird takes early on, like Alexis Davis losing a clear fight she was winning the whole way, or like even in this fight, he was like they should outlaw calf kicks because they're working too well. Like, I don't know what he was talking about. Like,
well, I saw he was talking about that. He wasn't necessarily saying it. From what I heard, he was saying that that's something that has been discussed with people, that it should be illegal, which I don't know if he was justifying it. I 100% agree.
Like, it didn't add anything to the conversation or like the commentary. It was just a weird, like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Munhoz, looked quicker than usual in this fight, and took some really, really hard shots as well from Rivera. I don't usually see Rivera throwing punches like that. So, kind of was out of desperation once he didn't really have a base from his legs. But, yeah, I mean, good fight. I think these guys will find a way to fight again, too, with where they kind of end up in the rankings and everything. I mean, who's Rivera fighting after this? Someone he's going to probably clearly beat, in my opinion. Like, he loses to a guy like Munhoz, beats a guy like Munhoz. Munhoz loses to a guy like Rivera, beats a guy like Rivera. They'll keep fighting each other.
They should just run that back like at least once a year. Just keep fighting each other, because it's always entertaining.
We'll get it.
Well, you need the trilogy fight, right? Because they fought back and Rivera took the split decision, but that was 6-7 years ago, and then this one's still another close fight, and just two great competitors in there who, again, like you said, will probably remain in the top 10. We don't really know what to do with them right now, but man, they both look really good. That was a super fun one to watch, and definitely fight of the night without a doubt.
Yeah, I think they definitely have to run it back. This time a lot sooner than 7 years from now. Hopefully,
I would hope so.
I think that fight could headline a fight night. I really enjoyed. I think that fight is really, really good. I think that it would have to have a little bit more implications, though. It would have to be, I feel like, a little bit closer to something to do with getting closer to the belt. I feel like you can't really have that as a fight night now. I think if Munhoz goes on a 2-fight, 3-fight win streak, Rivera comes out 2-fight, 3-fight win streak, maybe then you start thinking about that as a fight night main event. If not, though, I'm all for that being on a main card, though, too, because I thought that fight was great. And on a night like tonight, those two definitely both get $50K bonus based on performances of the night or fight of the night.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to maybe, when I'm looking at the rankings, like Marlon Moraes has kind of been on a little bit of a skid. Maybe that's kind of a next fight to make in that division, because as soon as you start getting into 7 through 1, I mean, Frankie Edgar went in there, beat Munhoz. I don't know where maybe he could fight Jimmie Rivera next. That would be a fun fight to watch. But then you start getting into the killers. It's Jose Aldo, Cody Garbrandt, Rob Font, Sandhagen. So I don't think they're going to be able to hang with them necessarily. But those are some fun fights that we can still make out of it.
Yeah, there's a Sunsao somewhere in there. Rowan,
yeah, exactly.
All these guys, that's the type of guy that he'll fight and beat.
Yeah, and then we had co-main Krylov versus Ankalaev, which was a good fight, at round one, exchanging shots. And then, I was impressed with Ankalaev. We're used to him going in there and knocking guys out. He really showed how he is a complete fighter. He can, wrestle. Krylov is a very good wrestler, and he controlled him really, really well, especially in the later rounds. I actually, just for fun, put money on Ankalaev in round one, but then I actually put money on Krylov in rounds 2 and 3, figuring maybe he'll engage in the wrestling, but it ended up being Ankalaev who really was the more dominant wrestler in this fight, which, I lost money, whatever, but it was a very good performance by Ankalaev, and I think he's a legit contender in that weight class. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was a guy who was knocking everyone out. He has tremendous striking, but when he was able to take it to the ground, I think that adds a whole nother layer to his game. And he's very legit. And I was happy with Krylov. I thought he did a good job in that fight. I think he took round 1, and then Ankalaev kind of turned it up into round 2 and 3. So Krylov, I thought, was a solid bet to make with the value. And I think, we kind of hit the nail on the head with the over 1.5 rounds. I think sometimes when you get that veteran experience and still this rising prospect, that's kind of what happens is, he actually gets pushed to the limit. So I think that's really good for Ankalaev. We got to see him go the full 3 rounds. He looks really good. And I think, he's very legit, and we'll definitely see more of him.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was just 2 really similarly skilled guys, similar levels, and Krylov has twice the competition experience, and Ankalaev looked like the more seasoned veteran in this fight. Kind of reminded me a lot of the main event also, which, like both these guys don't had about half the fights of their, opponent. But like in this fight, I think Ankalaev just, I think he could have pushed for a finish maybe more at a few times. But again, like making Krylov look kind of boring is quite a feat, because no one has really ever done that in his career. So that takes a certain level of skill. So, Ankalaev, I think you look at the top 10, that he can beat a lot of those guys. I think he's a top 5 talent. Don't know about title, but top 5, I certainly think he can enter that pretty soon.
And then we can get to the main event. And I saw this comment. I actually like this. So Ciryl Gane is the heavyweight Izzy. You don't bring the fight. That's what you get. Pretty much Romero versus Izzy 2.0. And I do kind of agree. Listen, Ciryl Gane is a freak athlete, man. Like the one thing I noticed, I did not realize how much bigger he was than Rozenstruik. Like when I looked on paper, he's like almost a whole head taller. And then he's obviously massive. And then the other thing that just crazy about him is he is so light on his feet, like just being able to bounce in and out. And he wasn't tired. Like looks like he could have went, another 2, 3, 4 rounds. Like it was really impressive. That is something that I was very impressed with. And I do think Ciryl Gane is going to be a legit problem. I agree with that comment from Crazy HD Vids is, at the end of the day, yes, the fight was boring, but Jairzinho Rozenstruik was on the losing end of every single round. Eventually, you have to just, throw caution to the wind and say, okay, I need to finish. Like, I need to do something, almost like he did in the Overeem fight. And he was just too nervous or too scared, or there was something going on. Ciryl Gane's intimidating, man. And that just shows you how dangerous he is when Rozenstruik wanted nothing to do with it. And he was fresher. He was just a fresher guy. He pushed the pace the whole time, but he was easily the fresher guy. And, I'm excited to see what Ciryl Gane does. I think that if he would have come out and put on a crazy performance, I think you're talking title shot close. I think that he needs another fight after that performance. And it wasn't like it was a terrible performance, but it also wasn't, like this performance where we're going to go back and say that was a dominant performance either. So I think, from a psychological standpoint, he dominated Rozenstruik. But skill set, I think he's definitely the much more skilled fighter as well. I mean, he had a couple takedowns, and, he did try to sink in a choke one of the rounds. I forget at the end of one of the rounds. So I was impressed with aspects of his game. I wasn't impressed with the fight in general, but, overall, Ciryl Gane is, again, that's also only his 8th MMA fight too, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, Ciryl Gane is 100% legit. He did not put on a mind-blowing performance, but he fought very smart. You're going against a guy like Rozenstruik, who you know can take you out in one shot. He just fought that smart. So I don't want to hear any of that crap about it being a boring fight, whatnot. You play that smart. He pushed him against the cage plenty of times. He got right in there, was in the clinch, tried to go for the takedowns. Again, we're seeing the use of the jab again, kind of like what Kamaru Usman did, but his jab was just killing Rozenstruik every single round. He had no answer for it. Jairzinho Rozenstruik almost never came forward at any point. And when he was throwing, he was just kind of throwing these heavy, big shots. And Ciryl Gane was light years away at that point. And then he would just kind of return fire. And it was just, that was the name of the game for the whole fight. And Ciryl Gane put on an absolute clinic. I think he did a very good job in every aspect of MMA. He was throwing leg kicks. He was, he went for that submission at one point. I wish he was able to go for or score more of the takedowns. I think that's where he would, really want to work on his game, if anything. But I mean, that's like a 9 out of 10 performance for me. He put on a clinic.
Yeah, I mean, he really did put on a clinic. Absolutely. Gane just, I'd love to see him against Derek Lewis. I doubt Derek Lewis wants anything to do with that fight. And I'm sure everybody after last week is like, oh, Derek Lewis would destroy him. I don't think Derek Lewis would come close to him, frankly. And I think that Gane would put on a pretty similar performance to that. And people would start to be rooting for Gane to get kind of knocked out. But I mean, Gane can get a finish. Gane can go 25 minutes. He's now shown in his eighth MMA fight, not UFC fight, eighth MMA fight. Again, he absolutely shut out Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik has 80 plus kickboxing fights as well. This was all fought at kickboxing range. And again, I think that if Rozenstruik would have pushed the pace, I think that maybe that would have made a difference. I'll be honest. When he was starting to push the pace and be aggressive, I did see some reactions from Gane that weren't amazing, but there was a reason Rozenstruik wasn't pushing the pace. And I think it had to do with the movement. I think it had to do with the distance control that Gane did. And I think that, again, footwork, things that aren't, like the jab that did land several times really hard. Also, he landed an overhand right really hard. He was landing leg kicks at times. Threatening for takedowns. There's a lot that Gane was doing that Rozenstruik was not doing. And then as a result, once it got into the fourth round, once it got into the fifth round, it really was on Rozenstruik to push the fight, and he still didn't. So,
yeah,
45.
Yeah, it was like he was playing. Ciryl Gane was playing chess. Rozenstruik was playing checkers. You could just visually see just like how much better Gane looked and how he's able to just control the entire fight. Jairzinho looked scared, straight up scared to move forward. He was like flinching and he just didn't know what to do in there. I know we're getting chirped in the comments right now, but I don't know how you could say anything bad about Ciryl Gane. Like he answered all the questions. Like, we know he has a ground game. We know he has the power. We know he has striking. Now we know he has the cardio, and we know he has the fight IQ. He is like a full-blown great fighter.
I want to go back to the Derek Lewis thing quick. I agree with Aaron. I do think that he fights a similar fight to Lewis. And the only thing I can say is I think Lewis would throw more caution to the wind than Rozenstruik. But that's not always certain because we didn't see it with Francis. So I think that Lewis might have done a little bit more to try to finish the fight, but I still see it going the same way. He's going to bounce in and out, jab, bounce back out. He's probably the quickest heavyweight in the division. I mean, he's probably the most athletic heavyweight in the division. So I think David Thomason lost some money. I think he had money on Gane by finish or Rozenstruik. But yeah. he's pissed. But if he needs to go back and watch the fight, because I mean, listen, if you're a casual fan, it was a boring fight. Yes. I 100% agree. But if you are a fan and you do watch a lot of MMA, you would know that Aaron had the perfect analogy before we went on air. If you're up 35 whatever in a football game, what do? You run the football. You drain the clock, you try to win the game. MMA is the same thing, except you're trying not to get your head punched off. Why would you throw caution to the wind. If you're up 3-4, like at that point, Rozenstruik was so timid to do anything. All Gane had to do was throw a couple punches and just kind of cruise for the last 2 rounds, and it was fine. I mean, so, I think that he's pissed, and that's cool. He must have lost some money, but
it's all good. But this is what I talk about with a lot of MMA fans, MMA bettors, MMA. It's this revisionist history that we get that now Rozenstruik is too one-dimensional. He's not really that dangerous. Never was that good. All these things that happen with Rozenstruik now, all of a sudden he's not the number 4 ranked heavyweight. All of a sudden, I mean, Gane is not supposed to be here at 8-0. Again, he's only 30 years old in the heavyweight division that isn't anywhere near the tip-top prime. And, it's like, again, like he was up 3 rounds to none, 4 rounds to none. Like you don't all of a sudden now be like, whoa, people are watching. Let's do a flea flicker. No, you run it up you do a dime with your backup running back. And he still was landing incredible shots. Again, like this is a fight that like I hope they do a fight motion for, because you're going to miss a bunch of shots I think you didn't even realize, even though there wasn't that much action. Like that step in right that Gane landed like 3 or 4 different times. The takedown he had in the second round where he just kind of tossed him and then did the Aspinall choke and just didn't get the Aspinall choke again. Like, again, if that was over right there, we're having a whole different conversation where I prefer what we saw here by seeing 25 minutes of Gane handle all of the mental obstacles of a guy in front of him who could end it at any point. Like, it's just like, like it just is what it is. And, I mean, I hit that dog money early too, Dave, but like, I just think that this is a fight that is, I'm not saying Izzy is Gane and Gane is Izzy at all, because they're very different fighters. But, I think that if we see a fighter throw caution into the wind, if Derek Lewis throws caution in the wind, we might see a different result. But I'm not necessarily banking that at this point, because the next time Gane is going to get better each time he comes out for a while out, honestly. So, yeah, this Gane tonight might have lost to Lewis. I think the Gane who fights Lewis in July on International Fight Island, if Lewis chose to take this fight, that'd be a really good fight. Stipe against anybody in the heavyweight division I'm interested in, to be honest, because they're all interesting fights, honestly, for Stipe. I can't wait to see Ngannou. There's no one I'd rather see than Ngannou Stipe. So hopefully they stay healthy. But if Lewis claims to not care who he fights and everything, Lewis Gane is the next fight for me. Yeah, well, I think that we need Lewis Gane at this point, because like I said, Gane's performance was good. It was good, but to someone maybe even like Dana White. Dana White at times judges things as a casual fan. Let's be honest here. Like he wants people to be, he wants the UFC to be buzzing. The only way the UFC is going to be buzzing, viral knockouts and all that other stuff. So he wants that. So for me, and he's probably in his eyes is disappointed. He thought it could have been a better fight. I think he wants crashing this right now. If he watched it, crashing. So he's probably like, okay, Gane needs another fight. But I think Gane answered, like you guys said, I think he answered a lot of questions. And just look at the cardio. He pushed the pace the whole time, and he doesn't even look like he was sweating. It was great. And again, a casual fan's gonna think the fight sucked, but if you like MMA, you're gonna like that fight. And I'm not all out on Rozenstruik. Do I think he's gonna be a champ? Probably not. But listen, Francis Ngannou had the same fight against Derek Lewis, and he's gone on a run. Do I think he's going to end up being like Ngannou? No one is like Ngannou. He's got different power. But, I'm not going to say Rozenstruik is completely out. He is very one-dimensional. That is his problem. And the one thing with Gane, too, that I was a little I wish he would have threw more elbows against the cage. We saw him finish JDS that way. And, I don't think Rozenstruik's striking is that good that when he doesn't have the distance, like he can't really throw in close. I think if Gane would have threw a couple nice elbows, maybe a couple land, get through and maybe finish Gane. But this is a good comment here. Gane versus Volkov would be crazy. I think that would be a really good fight because, Volkov is a very good kickboxer.
but Volkov also got taken down 14 times by Curtis Blades. So would Gane, I know his wrestling is not as good as Curtis Blades, obviously, but would he be able to take down Volkov at will? I mean, that's one thing that maybe, because like you said, Gane is obviously going to keep getting better as he trains. He's only 30 and only has 8 pro fights.
Been training for like 5 years total in combat sports between Muay Thai and MMA. This guy's just, like, it's just, and he like, again, it's like a 50-45 tells you a lot more than, I mean, we can kind of jump around here, but to go to the first card of the main card with Croom and Caceres, you don't know a lot from 31 seconds. And, it's like, and it's, definitely, Dave. We definitely killed it. If you tuned in on Thursday, you made a lot of money tonight.
Hey, you helped me out. I made my first bet of the night, and I would have made more because I was confident that the Russian guy was going to win the fight that got canceled
versus Oliveira,
Magomed or whatever.
That the line dropped tremendously after that fight was canceled.
Yeah, no problem, Dave. And we appreciate the passion here. That's what this recap show is for. The banter back and forth. And, sometimes you just get frustrated by a good performance. Go back after you get some sleep and rewatch the Gane fights from, top to bottom, because he's
and we can talk about banter because you were just saying Croom and the Croom fight. And listen, we had good friendly banter earlier in the week. You guys had Caceres. Obviously, Kevin Croom's a friend of our show, so we're gonna ride with our friend. But you guys, obviously, I mean, this is what we do it for. This is what it's all about: is the good friendly banter. And at the end of the day, Alex Caceres was the better fighter, and he, look, it took Caceres a long time to figure things out. It really did. He's been in the UFC for a long time. I think that was like his 23rd UFC fight.
11 years. Like, this is the thing with guys like Alex Caceres. They have all their losses on television in front of eyes. So you start to think, but there's lots of guys who come into UFC who are like 19-11 or something and have a bunch of losses in the middle of like Columbus, Ohio, to like 7-6 guys early in their career. And that's what like early in the career is for. But his early career was all in the UFC in front of people, sometimes going against Gracies and shit, who like just, it's like, I mean, eventually then you get into these situations where it's just like, dude, he looked like a man tonight. Caceres like looks like he's putting on that big boy muscle. Now, I don't know if it was the haircut or what it was, but like he definitely looks like he always had the technique, always had the movement, but now he's got the power behind those shots. And then the cardio is obviously there. The length really showed on some of those grappling where he was able to grab the ankle of Croom at one point to prevent that takedown position. It's just like he's so much longer than these opponents.
There was just no point in that fight that Caceres was like worse than Croom. He was better in all aspects. I mean, he was better striking. He had better power. I mean, listen, hats off to Croom because he was gassed after 4 minutes, and the fact that he didn't get finished. Like I was messaging Aaron throughout that fight, and I said, I think round 2 he's done. And then I was like, okay, he didn't get finished in round 2, but he's definitely getting finished in round 3. And he's wobbling, and you could tell like he was laboring to get up after Caceres, had stuff to take down. Croom's on the ground, and he could barely get up. And at that point, I'm like, oh, man, I kind of just want this fight to be over. Like Croom's a friend of our show, and like at that point, like he just didn't have it tonight. He just did not have it at all.
Yeah, it was Kevin Croom, we love you. You're the man. It was just a hard fight to watch, and I think Aaron, you're kind of right. We see the Roosevelt Roberts fight, and that obviously just jacks up his stock 1,000%. Everyone gets all hyped on that like one quick submission, but we haven't really seen him before that. He's not on national television. We don't really know his game, and yes, he blew his gas tank early, and then from that point on, it was just kind of sloppy work. He was 1 for 16 in his takedowns, but those takedowns were like 50% effort, and he was just not even going in to finish them. He was just tired, and he was just kind of like crawling on the floor almost. It was kind of hard to watch. Gas tank was empty. Heart was still there. That's absolutely true. That was the thing. He always kept coming. He had like 7 minutes of control. Like he was able to, I personally thought that he had stolen one of those rounds. I think it was maybe round 2. Like he had the control. I don't think Caceres really did too much.
There was two 10-8 rounds.
But then the 2 10-8 rounds, I was like, oh man, that was wishful thinking maybe on my part. But that was a tough look for Glory.
6, sir. But it's like it is why you get cautious when you see a debut and it's a 30-second finish. All of a sudden, the inflation on the guy compared to if, for example, Alexander Hernandez, he got a 30-second finish on Beneil Dariush, and that shot his stock up to a point that he still became a favorite against Thiago Moises. All this time later, Thiago Moises was one of my biggest dogs on this card.
Same, man. Yeah. I was telling everyone.
I was like, how long is Hernandez going to get off of this 45-second win over over Beneil Dariush? Because if Beneil Dariush and Alexander Hernandez fought for 15 minutes, who wins that fight?
Beneil Dariush. Hands down.
8 out of 10 times.
Hands down.
Like, that's my point. And that's why with this Gane Rozenstruik, you get so much more information than if Gane just goes out there and starches them in 42 seconds. And you're just like, oh my God, like you can't do that every time. You don't do that most of the time. You almost never do that in the UFC. So what you can do almost every time in the UFC and win is go the distance and be the better, like control the mental hurdles. And like, again, like that's something you don't see out of Croom in a 31-second guillotine choke of a guy who fucked up 3 or 4 times in the UFC before they cut him in Roosevelt Roberts.
I think going to that point, like you see, like with Ciryl Gane, like he was getting all these finishes, and like it kind of like the Chimaev effect too, where they end up these fights end so quickly that you speculate in their next fights. You speculate because you don't know. And when you go 5 minute or 5 rounds like this, 25 minutes, and you look great, you answered all the questions. We know who Ciryl Gane is. Kevin Croom, we didn't know who he was. We did not know who he was. And I think Caceres, amazing fighter, definitely a ton of respect to him. Now he's on a 4-fight win streak. He looks really good. So a lot of credit to him. But Kevin Croom was exposed tonight.
I think one of the biggest issues with Croom tonight was he didn't trust his stand-up at all. He didn't even
immediately went for the ground.
Didn't even attempt to strike, which in the Roosevelt Roberts fight, he landed a strike that led to the fight being, him getting a submission. So, he was just pressing for a takedown to try to sub Caceres, which who knows if he would have even gotten. But to me, like Caceres might have been the better striker, but we wouldn't even know because he didn't even attempt to strike with him at all. And eventually, if you game plan to wrestle the whole entire time, after the first 5 takedowns, if you haven't hit them, the game plan's got to change. And I don't know necessarily what was going on in the corners because honestly, they don't show it that much on fight night. So I don't know what Krause was saying, but based on what everyone tells me and how good of a coach Krause is, I know that at one point one of the commentators said that Krause told Croom, like, you got to stand up. You got to trust your stand up at this point. And he had no confidence. And, that's he would have, to me, like if he lost the fight, whatever. But I think it was more so the fact that he just didn't like the game plan and the not even attempting to strike the entire fight was just demoralizing for the most part for me. Like, I think that's what sucked the most. But listen, I think Kevin Croom is a good vet. I think that he's going to get another shot in the UFC. I think it's not that I don't think he couldn't beat Alex Caceres. I just think the game plan didn't work, and Caceres has more experience at that, against better competition in his career. I think Croom needs to go back and refine some things and, better game plan next time. But at the end of the day, Alex Caceres definitely needs top 15 opponent. 4-fight win streak. He's looked as good as he ever has. It's time for him to really start entering that conversation. And like Aaron said, I really think that he's just very well-rounded. I think he uses his length and reach very, very well. And, I was still impressed with him, and his gas tank was good because defending takedowns the entire time is not easy. And he did it well. And, he was trying for the finish up until the bell rang. So I was also impressed by Caceres, and that answered a lot of questions for me because I've been one Caceres kind of critic because early on in his career, he was bad. So, But then I did want to touch on, as long as Steve doesn't have anything to add to that, Alexander Hernandez, that guy, I hate him so much. I was messaging Aaron, like, he is probably one of my least favorite fighters in the UFC. Like, there's like Greg Hardy, and then there's Alexander Hernandez. I just cannot. There's just something about him. He is the most unlikable guy. He thinks he's so good. He has not beaten. He beat Beneil Dariush, and that's it. Like, his last win was not
on same or OAM, whatever, you know.
Yeah, and like, he goes out and Thiago Moises, let me just say, has become one of my favorite fighters to watch. He is, I think, and just imagine, like, he has a wrestling Brazilian jiu-jitsu game, and he didn't even use it. He's just out there trying to knock him out. I think if he would have used that, he would have had an even better advantage. And Aaron has something to add. I want to hear what he's got to say.
Yeah, so I do like Moises. I do not love his game plan in this fight at all.
I agree.
I think that it really was making me sweat quite a bit. There's a guy I'll bring up quite a bit. His name's Jorge Gurgel. Old school MMA fans will know who this guy is. He was a BJJ black belt who got a couple knockouts and all of a sudden forgot he was a BJJ black belt. And my thing with Moises is, in a lot of these fights, even the first round against Michael Johnson in the last fight, he forgot he was a BJJ black belt. And then he shot for that. He got the clinch and went for the heel hook and got it. He doesn't have wrestling. Moises does not know. Moises needs to learn how to wrestle. I definitely had him all day as a dog, though, in this spot. I think him as a dog was crazy, crazy value. I get Davis as a dog, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Moises as a dog seemed like one of these. I just don't understand what the odds makers were seeing, recent competition, recent performances, how they matched up, everything. I just think that was all day dog money. I hope that you nailed Moises. Seriously, and you bet Hernandez, I want to talk to you.
I want to know how Hernandez beats his last guy, which we don't even know his name. And then Moises. Yes, there you go. And Moises put on a great performance against Bobby Green, who I love. Bobby Green. Bobby Green's one of those guys who's always game, always ready to fight. He's very, very good fighter. Mm-hmm. And then Moises comes in as a dog. Like, that's just, it didn't make any sense. I totally agree with Aaron. And I'm not a guy that's like huge into betting. I don't give betting advice to people, but I knew just from watching UFC, I'm like, how is this even a thing? I locked it in right away in the beginning of the week when I saw Moises was an underdog. It made no sense to me at all.
Yeah, one of the ways when I'm like doing a little bit of my breakdowns and getting ready to do my prep, before I look at the lines, I'll do my breakdowns and then I'll make my assumptions about who the favorite is. I did my breakdowns of Hernandez and Moises, and I was like, all right, definitely looked at their last few performances. Like, okay, Moises, even though he beat Grutzmacher, going from Grutzmacher to Moises, that's like several steps up. I think Bobby Green beats Hernandez, and Moises and Green was a good fight. But again, went 15 minutes. Moises at 25 years old gets that extra octagon time. He got the win, even though some say he didn't. He got the win. He probably realizes that he didn't fight well enough to really get the win, so he still improved and reacted as if it was a loss. But it's a win for him, and so he gets that extra money to be able to keep the training at a high, level. Because he's talking about like he wants a house. He obviously doesn't have a bunch of money yet at this level of his career. So getting the win bonus is huge for his preparation for the next fight. And as long as he has enough self-awareness, he realizes, I kind of lost that fight to Bobby Green, but I didn't. I got the win, but, so I get to move forward. And again, going from Green to Hernandez, it's pretty lateral in terms of skill, less in terms of experience because Hernandez has way less time. And then, I did like how Moises looked. I just didn't like that I didn't see the wrestling. And I think that at times he was really, throwing some kind of sloppy hooks that against a better striker are going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I feel like you guys just kind of nailed that one. It was, it was a very close fight. You have 53 significant strikes to 50. It was close by the numbers. But now you talk about Moises on a 3-fight win streak with, now 3 good names on his resume. So I am looking forward to seeing him continue to climb. But that plus 180 was I think that's what they call free money.
Yeah. That was, I mean, Vegas gets these off. That's why you go top to bottom. The prelims were littered with good prices.
Yeah, I love Moises. I love his leg kicks. I think he has legit ability to make a run and be really, really good. The thing is the strikes were close, but it was just the ways that like his counter striking and just the damage he was putting on Hernandez versus compared to what Hernandez was doing is just I agree. I agree with Dave.
I think Hernandez is the kind of guy who once he's out of the UFC, that's going to really hurt his overall mental game, and I think you could really see a continued skid, similar to like when a Justin Lawrence. Remember Justin Lawrence? Probably don't, but Justin Lawrence, he was like the Karate Kid back on Tough, and like came out of Tough and was awesome. Look at Justin Lawrence once he left the UFC. Look at Justin Scoggins once he left the UFC. These guys who are uber prospects in the UFC then have a few losses, and then it's like, oh, but they kind of, once they lose that at Sage Northcutt, another example. These super prospects who are crowned before anything is really, and Hernandez, I think, could be a guy once he's out of the UFC, it could really even hurt his game more. So I don't think he'd be that great in the PFL either. I think there's all those crazy Dagestanis that the PFL just seems to churn out. Like, just you're like, whoa, they have another Russian over there? Like, that's all they have over in the PFL is Russians and, Anthony Pettis. So that's my opinion on Hernandez. I think Hernandez's best day was when he knocked out Beneil Dariush, and he's never been able to cash that check again.
I also wanted to ask what you guys thought of Dustin Jacoby, because I was unimpressed with him as well. I mean, he helped me win money, but I wasn't his last fight. I wasn't that impressed. He ended up getting the win, but like I just feel like he doesn't fight smart. Back against the cage, he wears a lot of shots. He was supposed to have the striking advantage in that fight, and it just, I don't know. I'm not very impressed with him either. I think that if he gets a really, really tough loss in the next, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be around much longer. I just was not impressed with him either. He was one of my guys that I was kind of like, eh.
I don't know if he's going to be around much longer. He's 2-0 in his recent run in the UFC. He beat a guy who was off by 6 pounds. So again, I just think that has to be taken into a little bit of account here. But yeah, Jacoby's one-dimensional. He's a kickboxer who is a pretty good kickboxer, but not world-class elite. He showed that when he was in Glory. But I think that with Grecian, I just don't really judge his performance because he lost by 6. He was up by 6 pounds. I'm okay with the judges giving a clearly wrong decision. I think that you should have to win by 30% more also when you miss by weight. I just think that missing weight is such a advantage that, I'm going to give Jacoby a slight pass. And just, I want to see him against somebody else. I don't think we really move him forward, but I don't think we're counting down the days till Jacoby is out of the UFC quite yet. But again,
Steve and I actually have a theory that when fighters lose weight or miss weight, they're actually worse, because I don't know, something like we were talking about it from a betting standpoint, that every time someone miss weight, they always seem to lose, at least since we've been doing this show.
That didn't used to be the case. That used to really not. And it all depends on the amount of a weight miss. When you miss by 5.5 pounds, that means you cut off the weight cut the night before, and you're like really not killing yourself to the degree of maybe your opponent. Dustin Jacoby just happens to probably fight around 205 anyway. I don't think Dustin Jacoby's cutting any or too much weight to get to light heavyweight. So I don't think this, but if he was fighting a guy who really cuts hard to get to 205, that could have been a really huge key. And I do think that's the reason Grecian was going to be able to go so hard. He cut 6 less pounds. That's a lot of weight not to cut, when you're cutting from heavyweight, which Grecian was, because he was fighting at heavyweight before this. So,
yeah, that was it was not a great start to the card, and I thought Maxime won that fight. I just thought he dealt more damage straight up. That's what it was pretty visual to see that, and it just I had Jacoby in that one. Shout out to Aaron the dog and Dave for that pick, but I definitely could have easily seen that just going straight to Maxime.
It should have, but he just fuck him.
Yeah, agreed.
Like sometimes.
And Paul Felder was on commentary too. I'm surprised he didn't say that.
Yeah,
True.
I would be more okay if in these fights where there really isn't a winner, if it's like, yeah, he missed weight by 6 pounds though. Like, it's like, sorry, like it's unlucky. Like Grisham, no, they all knew. It is what it is. Like, don't miss weight by 6 pounds, and then you.
Yeah, there needs to be more of a punishment. Let's be honest. I think Izzy was the one who kind of said it, but it was like, take a lot more of their purse or take harsher steps because it's really unacceptable at that point.
Yeah. I agree. Do we want to get to the last? I just want to get to the last couple fights real quick before we. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Ronnie Lawrence.
Oh yeah.
I'm much more sold now. If you listen to me on Thursday, I was cautious, man. I was worried.
You also said that after this fight, it's gonna skyrocket his price, and then he's gonna get. You got to bet against him. I don't think I can bet against him, dude.
No.
Him, but his price might be like a minus 500 type of price. But I'm thinking they're like Dana White's made it very clear he really likes Ronnie. Ronnie's young. He's only got 7 fights. They're going to put him against a guy like maybe Miraz, the guy that Umar Nurmagomedov just whooped on. I think they might just like give him a couple more of these opportunities to German suplex some folks and things like that. These things are really going to get you excited again about a guy who's come out of nowhere, man. I saw Ronnie Lawrence on LFA like 2-3 years ago. Like, and I was like, all right, like he won a decision. He lost the decision. I saw but like, man, that guy looks incredible. And like before the fight, I was like talking to Dave. I was like, man, like, what is he really going to be able to do here that's going to make me not completely fade him in his next fight? And I think he kind of did what he needed to do, man. Like,
when you can wrestle, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, he can wrestle. He can strike. He's got a really clear, good gas tank. And he put this away by strikes. I thought he was really only going to be able to put this away by submission if he was. Caceres is 1-3 in his last 4, but he lost by decision in those fights and like did not look this outclassed. I mean, Ronnie Lawrence is the real deal.
Dude, when you can wrestle like that and just when you can push a pace like that and not just like he got up like he was fine and not even breathe heavy.
Yeah.
That's when you know someone is just a real problem. When you have cardio like that and can just handle the competition like it was no issue. No matter who you're fighting, I don't care.
Long time too. He put him away like 2 or 3 times. That ref wanted death.
Yeah,
he was several times.
He must have been taking them Herb Dean
referee Herb Dean on the main card, guys. Herb
again
Dean on the main event.
He was super involved. He was super involved today. He was stopping the fight left and right.
He was chirping him. He's like, guys, get busy. Come on.
You got an eye poke. You got hitting the balls again. Stop.
I want to get my sprints in, boys.
I can get my steps in today. Hold on. Let me stand as far away as I can.
He must have listened to the show.
Dean. He must have seen the memes all week. Like, he's a fucking meme. Herb is a meme.
But he's got to be aware. Yeah.
I mean, Lawrence, the only finish on the card, for one. So he got performance of the night, I'm sure. And he maintains his status as Dana's golden boy. So he's going to get some super nice matchups. And you're going to see him as a minus 450. So I'm not going to be able to really bet him. But he's a parlay piece next time, most likely, against somebody he's going to outclass.
It was nice taking. So I had the parlay the first 3 fights of the night, and the Jacoby one, you're sweating that one out the whole time. You end up getting that one, and then just watching Ronnie Lawrence in there, it was just, you knew what was going to happen. It felt very easygoing watching that fight. He had 8 out of 9 takedowns, threw over 100 strikes. That was just perfect to have in the parlay.
Yeah, and then I had all 3. I had Davis as my first dog of the night, and she didn't make it much of a sweat either, man. Like,
I wish I would have bet her. I didn't bet her.
Mazzo, this is a case where if you go on Tapology, you see 3 red marks next to Davis in her last 3 fights, no fights in 2020. But the level of competition, the experience, the the overall MMA game, all tick for. And so, yeah, I just was really impressed by her. She's not done yet. She's like the last of the old school kind of first generation UFC fighters. Holm wasn't even in the first generation of the UFC. Like she was kind of the second generation that came in. Davis has been in from the jump, man. She came back from some huge injuries, and yeah, she killed it. Plus 205 underdog for me. Love it.
All right, David Thomason says, "Hey, you guys rock. See you next week." Herb, I'm fine. I'm just laying down, bro. That's hysterical.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I did. I actually wish I would have put money on Davis. I didn't. I kind of shied away from a lot of the female fights today. I did put money on Yoder. Obviously, that fight got canceled. I liked Yoder at the money that was she was an underdog, so I liked that. I also did put $5 on Bueno Silva to get a sub. And that fight, she should have won the fight. She got a point taken away in round 1 due to the fence grab, but which was great. That was good reffing. But that was honestly, I was kind of impressed by both. I thought Bueno Silva looked decent on the feet, and I thought De La Rosa looked pretty decent on the feet. I was expecting a little bit more on the ground. Like Bueno Silva was very scared to get on the ground. Like she was trying to stuff every single takedown, did not want to fight on her back at all, which we see sometimes with these really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighters. They don't really care if they get taken down because they're dangerous off her back. De La Rosa has a pretty decent sub game as well. So Bueno Silva was pretty nervous and didn't really want to fight off her back. So after I saw that, I was like, damn, there goes $5. But it's all right, though. It was still a good fight. It was one of the better fights of the night, in my opinion. And I thought Bueno Silva and Montana De La Rosa, I thought they both fought pretty well. I do like the points taken away, though. Obviously, That was a blatant fence grab. Like that would have changed. That could have changed the fight. You know, she could have taken her down and gotten a finish or whatever. You don't know. That's a dominant position. And to just, obviously, I think they should take a point away and put her in a dominant position. In my opinion, I think that would definitely deter her because she almost did it again. Once the fight was on the fence, she did it before the points were taken away too, right? And they didn't see it because I know commentary was talking about it. And then when she actually grabbed it when she was getting taken down, that's when he finally took the point away. But they should take the point away and put her in the least dominant position.
Yeah, it's just about damn time that they've actually started doing. I mean, they never. How many times do we hear like, "Don't grab the cage, don't grab the cage, don't grab the cage," and everyone always grabs the cage. It's like the first time we've actually seen a point deducted from someone's score. So that needs to happen more often because that's the only way you're going to get people to really stop. Let's be honest. People are going to do it until you get a point taken away.
Yeah, and just a little betting tip, when there's low to mid-level women MMA and it's plus 200, take the dog. You'll make money over time. Take the dog.
Well, I was going to take her, and I did. I was like, I really like sub here. Screw it. 7 wins, 5 of them by submission.
You like doing that. You like trying to pick the exact thing.
It's not like I don't bet uber money. Like if I bet a lot of money, I'm going to play it safe. I'm not that wild. God, I have kids and a wife. I'm not going to sit here and bet my house on the fact that I just bet it because I think it's fun. It makes it more exhilarating for me.
Yeah. Prop hunting in MMA is a way to definitely lose whatever hair you have left under that hat.
I don't have any, so that's all right. Yeah, I don't listen. It's $5.
He's a man with nothing to lose, folks.
Well, for every Tom Aspinall, there's like 30 that you probably lose.
Yeah, but the thing is, if I bet 30 Tom Aspinalls and I hit one, I practically still made my money, so it's fine.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, correct. Yeah,
and it is. Listen. The Munhoz and Rivera fight, I said under 2.5, and it almost happened. A couple more leg kicks, and that fight gets stopped. So I almost hit another one. And then, Krylov, I know that he lost, and round 3 was actually his worst. But if Krylov would have landed a crazy strike or whatever in round 3, I would have made quadruple what I bet. Like so,
you're crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy. You put $70 on Kevin Croom. I don't want to hear it.
Oh boy.
Hey, that's personal information.
Yeah, we're talking about this off the live here. I'm sorry, everybody. Is there anything besides anything left besides the superlatives for us?
Unless you no, I think that's it.
No.
And no, this people need to see the real us. It's okay, Steve. I still love you.
That was my biggest bet that I've placed in. Oh no, Dan Hooker was my biggest bet that I lost this year, but that was my second one.
Listen, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm never going to bet a lot of money. $10 is the most you're going to get out of me. So I'm a cheap bastard.
All right, you keep prop hunting.
I will. And then when the days that I win, I'm going to be hyped as hell. I'm just telling you. It makes for great content. All right, Carrie, run it for the freaking superlatives. Let's go. I can't even talk now. Ladies and gents, it is that time. The Sheath superlatives of the night. Go to sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code COFFEENKOs and get 20% off your entire order. Sheath underwear, the best underwear around. Steve, tell me about your Sheath underwear before we get going.
Sheath underwear, man. I feel like you put it the best way. You were saying once you go from like normal, just generic brand underwear to something, I'll call it some elaborate, luxurious underwear, game changer. I was actually a little sus of it to begin with, but no, complete game changer. I love it.
Yeah, when you can just get everything in a nice compartmentalized organization down there, it's the best feeling in the world. Aaron, go get yourself some Sheath underwear. You do that, go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code COFFEENKOs, and you can get 20% off your entire purchase. Don't forget to sheath your dagger. Fellas, our favorite part of the night. I feel like we always have some good laughs with this. It's a tough one though. This is a tough night for superlatives. You might have to get a little crafty on this one because like I said, it was a little bit of a snooze fest. Only 9 fights, which God, I don't even remember the last time there's a 9-fight card. Like I feel like that's just so little. At least we complain at 11.
We had the 8-fight card when like Trevin Giles had like a heart attack in the back.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
And like last week, I mean, we had a fighter come out for a fight, and I mean, at least all the fighters both came out once.
Yeah, that is true.
Night, but yeah.
All right, so we'll change it up a little bit today. We'll let Aaron get the first one. I'll get the second one, and then Steve, you get the third one, or do you want to get the second one, Steve? I'll let you pick.
I'll take 2.
Okay, so I'll go last as far as I'll do the decaf. All right, Aaron, you are first for Jacked on Caffeine. Let us have it.
Yeah, so the Jacked on Caffeine performance of the night, I don't know if it was just by comparison, and I'm not trying to pile on you guys or pat my own back. I'm going Alex Caceres here. He looked like he got the caffeine and Croom got the decaf, and it just showed throughout the fight. And I mean, Caceres usually shows out pretty well, but yeah, what up, bro? Well, shout out to you as well. But yeah, I just think that Caceres looks like that vegan diet's not holding him back. He looked in great shape, looked to have good energy throughout. So I'll give him my jacked up performance of the
10 years of vegan. I could never do it. That's all I got to say.
Looks good though. I mean, he looks good.
No, he does. Yeah,
I
could never do it. There's another fighter that's vegan too. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch, but there's another big name that was vegan it's been vegan for a long time. I can't remember exactly who it is, but no, I could never live that lifestyle. That's a tough lifestyle, man.
Yeah, he's putting on weight somehow. So yeah.
All right, so I got the second spot here. There's a few guys I want to give this one to. I'll go with Ciryl Gane. I'll give it to Ciryl Gane. I think he does need the recognition on this one. Jacked on Caffeine performance of the night. You go against the number 4 ranked guy, super difficult, super dangerous opponent. And yes, call it a boring fight if that's what you want to call it. It was a smart fight, and he completely dominated every single aspect of this fight. And I just loved what Ciryl Gane did here. I love that he answered all the questions that we had about him. He's the future champ. I do believe that. I think he has all the tools. I do think he needs to work on a few things here, but he really has all the makings to be great. And it's just coming out of complete left field, just having like under 20 pro with MMA and what Muay Thai. I think he was like 7-0 only, but that was not too long ago. So this guy's an absolute stud. I got to give him jacked on caffeine.
Probably the most well-rounded heavyweight other than Stipe, right? You would think.
Yep.
Maybe Aspinall, if Aspinall can really, but Aspinall needs more, obviously way more competition. He's not there yet, but that's the only other guy I can see kind of with that same fight style, rather. My jacked on caffeine, I'm going Ronnie Lawrence. I mean, how do you not go Ronnie Lawrence, man? He had the only finish of the night. The freaking takedowns were ridiculous. The pressure was ridiculous. Just everything about that performance. He's going to get a bonus. He just looked as good as you could look, man. He looked really, really good. And I think that he's going to be a problem in that division, especially if he can keep that pace going. Guys like that have a grueling fight style, they just seem to make quick climbs too. I mean, Colby Covington kind of fights with a ridiculous pace as well. I really like Ronnie Lawrence. I really like that performance, and we're going to see what happens. So he gets my jacked on caffeine performance of the night.
Yeah, that's a good choice. He came out of nowhere, man. He just has come out of nowhere. The last guy I can remember to do this, even though he was on Tough, was Kelvin Gastelum. When Kelvin Gastelum was the last pick on Tough, and then just like had this wrestling style, this relentless pace to him. But Lawrence isn't having the weight issues, and I mean, yeah, it's like, but it's just out of nowhere, relentless. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he has next. Great choice.
Now we move to espresso shot of the night. This is a tough one. This is a real tough one. Steve, you got a toughie to start. I got to
start this one.
Yeah. This is what you wanted. I gave you the choice, buddy.
This is a brutal one. We did not have the card for espresso shot of the night. Let's say that. But if I had to choose, I'll go with Pedro Munhoz and Jimmie Rivera, because I really expected this to go on the ground a lot more, and these guys just came out swinging hard. And I really like to see that. And we saw some big shots landed, and obviously the leg kicks were a huge issue in there. So I really like the energy, the striking that we got to see from those two guys. So no one strike in particular, but just the back and forth that we got to see, I thought was worth this award.
My espresso shot of the night, I don't have one goddamn thing written down because I don't know what. I mean, Munhoz was going to be my guy because of the leg kicks. I was going to go with that. I'm going to make it a funny one. I'm going to go with one of the people in Ciryl Gane's corner that was slapping the shit out of him before he got in the octagon. That guy probably landed the heaviest shots of the night. And I mean, outside of the Munhoz fight, I mean, God, Gane was, if he can take those shots, he can take any shots. I mean, that guy was really hitting them freaking good. So I don't know who that was, but I'm going to go with the guy in the corner for Ciryl Gane.
I'm going to go with the Munhoz leg kicks as well. But honorable mention to the Alexis Davis leg kicks as well, which was, a huge difference in her being able to get those takedowns. Especially in the later rounds. I mean, Mazo was saying her legs hurt in the, and it was just like once she got her down at the end, you knew she wasn't going to be able to get up just from the leg kicks. So, honorable mention to Davis, but I got to give it to Munhoz. Those definitely were the best shots of the night.
I could have went Bueno Silva with the elbow that opened up De La Rosa. I could have went with that.
Her eye was shut completely. Her eye is going to look even worse tomorrow,
So I can do that one. That's I just thought of it now. There we go. So the other guy the green-haired person gets honorable mention. All right. So now we go with the decaf performance. This is an easy one for me. I wanted to say main event in general, but I'm not going to do that to Ciryl Gane because I do think he answered a lot of questions. I'm just going to go with Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Listen, I know the broadcast team was pretty annoying, but I got to agree with Bisping for the most part of this one. Like, you just got to go for broke. You're down how many rounds? That's Ciryl or Rozenstruik wins that fight. He's probably looking at close to a title shot at that point. You got to go for broke. I'm not going to say he didn't have a game plan, but he just way too timid, fought back against the cage the entire time. And that's nothing against Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane, obviously, there was something with Ciryl Gane that was making Rozenstruik so hesitant. But at the end of the day, you got to go for broke. And that was one of the more boring performances I've seen probably since Lewis and Ngannou. And that's, not necessarily on Gane's part, more so on Rozenstruik's part. especially the 5th round. Like the 5th round, you've already been dominated. It's not like he was extra tired. Like it's not like Gane was pushing a crazy pace to the point where Rozenstruik's defending takedowns and a million shots. Like he had more than enough energy to try to go for broke and get a knockout. He didn't. He had just a piss poor performance in my opinion. Hats off to Gane. Rozenstruik back to the drawing boards. Hopefully he comes back and gets a couple big knockouts and tries to reinsert himself back into that title contention. But I think he needs to get another win or 2, maybe even 3. Like he really needs to come out and put on good performances. Like that was not many times. I feel like when you lose, it sets you back a lot, but that was just bad. Like he just didn't do anything.
He was 9 seconds away from a 50-45 against Overeem too. So
yeah,
I mean, honestly, it's the same fight as this one, except he didn't have a leaping hook at the end.
Yep.
So
are we saying he's overhyped a little bit then?
I mean, he's just one of these fighters who I don't think he's much of a tactician. I think he's a hammer, and when he can't hammer the nail, I don't think he knows what to do.
Agreed.
He's gonna get some nice knockouts. Is he ever gonna get the belt? Probably not.
No.
Yeah,
too many will.
A Junior Albini, give him Alexio Oleinik, guys who will like know head movement, who he can connect with. But otherwise, Derek Lewis, these guys, no.
Am I second?
I think Aaron would be second.
Okay. I'll go. God, I really don't want to pile on this guy.
I'm gonna do it if you don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kevin Croom. He really, I get it that takedowns are tough, but if you're gonna do a game plan, you gotta make sure to be able to do it for longer than 4 minutes. And it was all heart for 10 minutes after that, but you don't get heart from your espresso. You get heart just from within. So, he decided to leave the morning without his coffee. It's like, you don't have the filters at home, whatever. The coffee machine isn't working. It's like, I got to go to work anyways. You got to just struggle through that day. That's what it looked like Croom did. It's like, yeah, he did his job technically, didn't get finished, but he just wasn't there. And I've seen him fight a lot, and I haven't ever seen him fight kind of that gas. Usually he'll go out and maybe get finished or something, but he just kind of had a game plan he couldn't really live up to. So I'll go with Croom.
Zach, do I have your permission to maybe second that?
Listen, you were the one that told me we can't. If you want to do it,
I know. I was gonna say. I feel like I have to do it, and I know that he knows what he did, and it's.
You sound like an upset parent.
I am. I'm trying to be like,
It's like your dog pissed on the floor and he knows he's not supposed to do it.
That's exactly what this is. It's friend to friend. It's just like no hard feelings. I know that he knows what happened out there, and it was disappointing. And it was just a very big opportunity for him to go in there against a big name like Alex Caceres, who's been around the block a lot. And if you put on at least you have to put on a better performance, like a nice split decision where it's controversial. You went out there, you put it all on the line, but it was just all on the line, like you said, in the first 3-4 minutes. So I just was disappointed in the performance. I know he will come back in his next fight stronger, and he's going to get that win in the next one. But I just dad talk. I had a lot of expectations for you.
He's going from opening a main card to opening the prelims for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Croom has the making. He has, as far as outside of the octagon, his personality, everything has the makings to be. People will love him.
Is Austin Springer still in the UFC? The guy Caceres kind of schooled, the other white wrestler that he schooled, who looks just like Kevin Croom. Austin Springer.
I don't think so.
Because if he was still in, I'd say Austin Springer versus Kevin Croom, open UFC Fight Night card. And that's where Croom gets back in the maybe, like a Jacob Kilburn.
I don't know. I honestly don't know where Croom goes from here. I think that there's just a couple things that need to be addressed. I don't think he gets cut. I think that he has another shot. But he definitely, I think next shot, though, he definitely has to do something with it. I think he gets one more fight. He really needs to do something with it, especially right now. The UFC, you get 2 losses. If you have a losing record in the UFC, you're not staying. That's just what's been happening. It's clear as day. And like you said, Steve, he knows.
I know he knows. I know.
Yeah. So I think that if we were to have him on the show tomorrow, I think he would totally agree with you. And listen, we still love Kevin Croom. We're a pro Kevin Croom podcast. We're always gonna root for Kevin Croom. But no, I agree. I think that he needs to work on some things. Dave is
for the record. Springer was released and then retired, so that's not going to happen to Croom. Okay, that's not going to happen.
That's Croom. They just have to look alike. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to look at all the people in that division and see where obviously who he can fight. But yeah, no.
Relatives for Croom, not the ones you probably were hoping that.
We won't tag him in those.
Yeah,
we only tag the winners. Although I could have said Alexander Hernandez because that guy's a punk. Steve, you could have done that one. Instead, you went with our friend. You're mean.
Tremendous.
I'm not mean. You're mean. I was gonna say Rozenstruik, but Croom knows. He knows.
And on that,
oh man, that might have been the best part of this show.
Yeah, go to your room, everybody.
Yes, go to bed.
David.
Man, Croom, when we go to Kansas City to do the Olympics, he's gonna choke you out, Steve.
He knows.
Or if never mind. I'm not gonna
Don't
say
it. Don't say it, dude. You were gonna say.
No, I didn't say anything.
You were gonna say something.
I'm good.
I knew you were gonna say. Man, if Croom listens to this, you're done. He's gonna choke you out.
We're about to have a crazy recap next week, though. Triple.
Yeah.
Nice 3 a.m.er, huh?
Yeah, I am ready for that.
I'll listen. That's 3 a.m., but it's gonna be well worth it. That card is so damn good. The prelims are fire. Like there are so many.
Dude, Rakic Santos to open the main card. Let's fucking go.
Insane. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, listen, guys, on Monday, we have a huge show on Monday. We got our boy Josh Byers, who has been on our show before. He's going to come hang out with us. Jackie, a.k.a. Boston Comments, is going to be with us as well. So we're going to have a 5-person show on Monday. We have a special show on Saturday afternoon, morning-ish, morning their time, afternoon for us. Grant Dawson and his girlfriend, Elle, are going to be joining us Saturday morning. They're going to join Steve and I. We're going to break down every fight. They have 2 teammates. They got Megan Anderson and Tim Elliott fighting on Saturday. So they're going to hang out with us Saturday live and they're going to break down all the fights and talk fights with us for about an hour and a half. So stay tuned for that too. Saturday is going to be an electric day. We're going to have a crazy preview show basically on Saturday morning before the fights start. And then we're going to have the recap show after on the Fight Bananas channel. And then Monday, we have a huge interview. O'Day Osborne. We're interviewing O'Day Osborne on Monday. And then we'll also do our preview show with Jackie and Josh, which you're not going to want to miss. Those guys always, guy and girl, bring the energy all the time. And, it's going to be a really, really fun show. So we're really, really excited for all of this. It's going to be electric. This week is awesome. This is a big week. If you're an MMA fan, it's like Saturday is like a Super Bowl. Like this is going to be one of the best cards of the year, hands down.
Some may say it's going to be bananas.
Some might say that.
Some.
Fight bananas.
Anything else to add for the good of the cause? Steve, you disappointed dad.
I've done enough for tonight. I've said enough.
He's got to go to bed. He's pissed.
Yeah, he's real upset. We'll definitely be providing the breakdowns this week between Coffee and KOs and Fight Bananas. I'll be back on Thursday as well, live at 8 p.m. with fighter to be named. But we're figuring that out right now. But I will be breaking it down with someone who punches people in the face for a living. So
make sure you guys check that out because Aaron won everyone money today. So make sure you check it out. He wins money. He knows more about betting than we do. We just make frivolous bets and because we're dumb. So that's what we do.
But
Steve, no, you're part of the show, so you're part of that now. I don't want to hear it. Listen, you just made those comments about Croom. My name is attached to Coffee and KO, so he's going to want to beat me up too. So I don't want to hear it.
Can I just say real quick, the Cafe Parlay, I think for the second week in a row, 3 of 4. both times. 3 out of 4.
Yeah, it's like almost.
Mm-hmm.
Just almost. It doesn't count. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, buddy.
And fishing.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't count in fishing at all. I don't know what you fish for, but
it counts the least. Like,
no, it's like I almost caught the big one. Like, oh, the one that got away.
not what you.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
He knows it's gonna be
Have
a shirt. He knows.
I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. You need to be done after that, Carrie.
Go to your
That's
room.
going to do it. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for the Coffee and KOs podcast. You can find us on all podcasting platforms. You can also find us on YouTube on this channel. You're actually watching us right now. We're here on Saturdays on the Fight Bananas YouTube channel. And then on Mondays, we are on our own YouTube channel, Coffee and KOs. You can find us on all social media platforms at Coffee and KOs 1. Make sure you go to sheathunderwear.com. That's what this show is brought to you by. sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code Coffee and KOs. Get 20% off your entire purchase. It's been fun, everyone, and we will see you next time.